Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today I've got a new radio from Flysky. It's the FS-ST16 16-channel radio. This thing is fabulous. It hits a price point. You guys know I love the PL18 radios, the PL18 EV, but it's really expensive. And I love the 10-channel FS series radios that are great at a really good price point. But if you want something better stick feel, more programming features, if you want an airplane or helicopter radio, man, this thing is fantastic. Beautiful bright displays, all kinds of buttons and knobs so you can set it up any way you want it. I'm going to just give a brief overview today and kind of go through the menus, but I will be doing a helicopter video with this radio using Bayer electronics, so I'll use S-Bus, I'll wire in sound, I'll do all the helicopter programming, I'll do an airplane setup with it, and then I'll do a semi-truck setup with a Bayer system, and Tamiya MFC system. This is a radio that I think is really, if you want a top-of-the-line radio in a great price point, this thing is beautiful. Let's delve into it. Let's get started. Well, let's talk about Flysky. I think they do just a fantastic job with radios. Obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know that the Flysky FS-I6X 10 channel is kind of the go-to radio for Tamiya semi-trucks. It gives you 10 channels, really nice little radio, very inexpensive. You know, it doesn't have the best stick feel or anything like that, but for trucks, it works great. And I love them and use them all the time. Now, also, if you've watched my videos, you know that my favorite radio of all time is the Flysky PL18 EV. 18 channels, super programming, all kinds of switches and knobs. You can do anything with it. This is my own personal radio I use in my construction stuff, and I have the airplane version I use in some airplanes. But really a great radio, but it's expensive. Okay, I understand that. And it's very expensive, and you don't need a lot of the features that it's got. Flysky also does the FS-ST8, which is a really nice little radio. It can be 10 or 12 channels, and has, especially if you buy the advanced version with the ball bearing sticks and the rollers in the top corners, a pretty darn good little radio. But there's kind of been a spot between you know, these radios that hasn't been filled. So, of course, leave it to Flysky. The FS-ST16 radio, and this has just got this in, so we'll pop it out and we'll talk about it a little bit. Alright, first thing is I slide it out of the package. I notice it comes with a carry case. This is just so great. You know, it's not the fanciest carry case in the world, but it'll really protect your radio. It's got a little switch here to flip it open, and oh, isn't that pretty? Just a neat looking radio. It's got kind of a simulated carbon fiber front. Wow, this looks great. I haven't even turned it on or done anything with it. Let's pop it out here and take a look. Now, the version they sent me comes with their 8-channel receiver, charging cable or programming cable, and a few other little tiny accessories, including, it looks like, a centering stick, a centering kit. Okay, yeah, this one doesn't have a centering stick here, so if you want to use it on a vehicle like a truck, you can install the centering kit. And we'll take a look at that as we get into it. I haven't really even opened this radio yet, so I wanted to give you my first impressions. First impression is, wow, it feels great. It's got great stick feel. It has neat little details on it, and oh yeah, it's got aluminum keys on the back. Those are nice. Aluminum handle, grip handle. It stands up either this way or this way, which you might think, ah, that's kind of, you know, not a big deal. It is a big deal. I hate radios where you stand them up and they tip over. This one's really pretty solid. It looks like we've got a threaded insert for a neck strap. Of course, now, typical Flyskys. 4 switches, probably, yep, 3-position switch here. Oh, that's nice, another 3-position switch. Okay, that's new. Usually that's a 2-position switch, so that'll come in handy. For trucks, I love having this for shift, but it's nice to have another 3-position switch and then a couple 2-position switches. We've got 2 additional 2-position switches up here, which I've not seen before on the Flysky radios. That's pretty handy. Of course, these are proportional channels here, these little rollers. And then, as we mentioned, we've got flipper keys here and here. So key 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are super handy if you want to have a switch to turn a function on or off. You don't even have to take your hands off the sticks. Okay, our trims are here. Menu button, exit button, and a roller. So let's power this thing up and see what we got going on. Now, pop it open. Okay, first thing we notice is it has a nice battery tray in here, but does not come with batteries. Now, I'm assuming the tray is removable. Yes, it is. It's got a couple of Phillips head screws here, and we can pop the tray out, and it looks to be a plug for a standard kind of a plug for LiPo batteries. So let me take a look and see what the battery situation is, and we'll come back and get this thing powered up. Okay, batteries. Did a little research, actually read the manual, which I normally am not big on. And this radio takes 18650 lithium batteries. Okay. So I hopped on Amazon and I found a 6-pack for $23.99. Takes 2 batteries. One of the things I like about having batteries like this is I can carry a spare set. So if I'm running all day long and the transmitter goes dead, boom, I have another set charged up and ready to go. So these just snap into the holder and charge with the included charge cord. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug them in and charge it, but I want to note that you can also use LiPo batteries. If they have a JST connector or a balance plug, you can actually unscrew this, pull it out, and use a LiPo battery, any 2-cell that fits. So I've got a bunch of 2-cell LiPos that fit. Usually they're the small ones I use on semi-trailers, but yeah, so great ways to power it, but this looked like the reasonable way to do it. These have got a protective plastic film on them. But they just snap in like a standard AA battery, only bigger. So that's pretty cool. Now these, I'm assuming, just come as a storage charge, so put those in and we'll power it up. Okay, now there's our power up screen. Okay, and everything's in Chinese, so we're going to figure that out, and I'm going to charge the batteries. So I'm going to plug the batteries in with the included charge cord. Let's see, we must have a plug-in location here someplace. Ooh, SD card slot. Ah, that's pretty cool. All right, we'll figure that out. We'll come back and we'll get this thing charged up. Well, the charge port is underneath here. So our cable just plugs in there and plugs into USB. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing charged up, and then we're going to come back and play with it. Just want to mention one little quick thing. When it's charging, you can just tap the button and it shows you the battery percentage. So right now we're at 70%, and That's kind of a nice feature just to see where you're at. So here's my first look at this radio, all charged up and ready to go. First off, it's just fabulous looking. The screen is beautiful. The highlight lights are amazing, which I'm positive we can change the color and the brightness. The function buttons up here, which first I thought that was just a light bar, but the function buttons take us to quick functions to a radio select, like model select, for example. And each button takes us to a different selection, which is kind of a quick way to do a setup. If your radio is like mine and it came in a different language, this one was Chinese. It took me a minute to figure it out because I loathe to look at manuals, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So the far end button is the setup menu, and then we can roll to setup, push the roller down, and then you can see we can select different items. We can select the language right there, English and or Chinese. So that's how you switch it to English if it's in a different language. Once you just play with this for a second, it's very intuitive. I am absolutely loving this radio, and the feel, it's really hard because we're on a video. This thing feels fantastic in my hands. I mean, I fly my airplanes with Spectrum radios. This feels better. And so here's what's going to happen. First off, we're talking about the radio today, but in the future I'm going to set up one of my brand new helicopters that I'm building, and I will use this radio, and I will also set up a RC truck with a Beyer sound system to show how you will set it up in this radio. Because the neat thing about this, even though it has a 8-channel receiver that's included, and they offer a 12-channel receiver that's very inexpensive, so it's easy to go up to 12, but with the Beyer system you just plug one S-bus cable in and you automatically get all 16 channels. So with all these great knobs, I mean, 2-position switch, 3-position switch, 3-position switch, 2-position switch, knob, proportional channel, 2-position switch, 2-position switch, key. I mean, you can set up some really cool models. For example, I could have my horn button for a truck on one of those keys, and just super nice layout and a great feeling. The aluminum little detail pieces are beautiful. Probably the finest mid-range radio I've ever seen, and the price for what you get is fantastic. I'll put links in the description. But let's power up a receiver here, and got the receiver, plug the battery in. You can see immediately the receiver is showing up here on the screen, and we can plug in a servo just to test it. We'll use channel 1. Now I haven't assigned any channels to any particular switches, but as you can see, the radio works just fine. The stick feels great. This button right here, let's see, gets me to that one. That one. There's a pretty nice display screen. Where did we find it? Basic menu. Okay. Okay, so the menu button here, we push it. Basic menu on the roller. We got a channel monitor screen, and we can see this has got all 16 channels on it. We can see our sticks here on the screen. The screen is so crisp and clear, it almost doesn't look real. You can display just channels 1 through 8 with more information, or we can go back to all channels with less information, channels 9 through 16 with more information, and go back to all here. and exit. We have model set, reverse, servos, trim, timers, super easy. Model menu. We have throttle curves, pitch curves, exits. I'm going to go through the menus. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention as we start to set this up is the radio came with this little quick start guide, which is useful but not super useful. I mean, it gives you a little transmitter overview and everything. But the first thing you want to do with any Flysky radio is pop to their website and download the complete manual. Now, this is the complete manual in the FS-ST16. It's 106 pages long. And this will give you every little thing. This is how I found the language, by the way. Every little function on the radio, shows you exactly how to do it, layouts of the knobs. So if you have questions about mixes, assigning channels, anything like that, you can pop into this manual and find your answers instantly. It's in color. You can see I just put it on my iPad here so I have easy reference, and I recommend that you download the manual with any Flysky radio, because the little manual's included doesn't tell you very much. This thing gives you everything. People call me all the time, how do I do this on my radio? I said, well, it's on the manual on page 22 or whatever. So, manual. Download the manual and you're ready to go. Okay, let's dive into this thing. The first thing I'm going to do is, just because I'm a total nerd, is I am going to shut it off. Yes. Unplug the receiver because I don't like it. The first thing I'm going to do, because I'm such a nerd, is I'm going to open up the case and see what's inside. Now, I don't recommend you do this, but I have to know. I want to look at the gimbals and pieces in there and just kind of see what's in there. So let me take a few minutes and pop some screws out. I'm sure I'm going to have to pull these rubber grips off to get into the screws, and I'll open this up and we can look inside. I love to take new electronics apart. It's so fun. This is the coolest radio I've ever opened up. First off, it took, what do we got? 7 screws. There's a screw inside the battery compartment, right there. And then there's screws here, and a couple across the top. Now, these rubber grips just snap into place. They have little tabs that just push in, so they're really easy to take on and off. So easy to get the back of the radio off. And then they use these pins right here that mate into a matching plug in the radio, so there's no wires between the units. This is unbelievably nice. I'm always doing I6X's 10-channel radios because I modify them and program them, and they have wires going between the front and the back, and it's just a pain. I have a special bracket that I put them on so that I don't have to unplug the wires, and that is an amazingly cool feature. Yeah, I know you may never open yours up, but anyway, beautiful gimbals. They feel fantastic. And here is the coolest thing ever. Of course, we've got our stick set up for an airplane where it goes from slow to fast and stays where you put it. Has a great feel. But if you take this screw and loosen it, it's the screw right here, loosen it up, guess what? It releases the bracket that centers the stick. Okay, so you've got a centering stick now. Loosen it a little bit more, get nice tension on it. So you don't have to actually take it off and install parts. It's all built right in. So if you're using it for a boat or a truck where you want forward, stop, and reverse, or a drone, all you have to do is loosen the screw or tighten it. No parts needed. Now we're back to the airplane helicopter setup. That is a great feature, not needing parts. Everything else is beautiful. The circuit boards are fantastic. There's not a lot of wiring and plug-ins, which is nice. I can see that this radio is going to be very durable in the future. SD card slot down here in the bottom. Yeah, antennas are built in. You can see the antenna pulls up here, rotates. It's adjustable for angle, so that's pretty slick. If you're using some long-range stuff like a drone that you want to fly a couple miles away, I'm sure the range on this thing is just fantastic. So anyway, that is the inside of the radio, and that's how you adjust the stick. I'm going to leave the stick in the airplane helicopter setup because I'm going to be using this in a helicopter here pretty soon. And so now I will just slide this back on. Before I do that, my habit is to make sure the batteries are out just while I put it back together, but I don't anticipate any problems, and it should just slide back together really nicely. Look at that, like a bank vault. I'll pop the screws back in, pop these rubber covers back on, and we'll get our radio back in shape. Looks really great inside. So we had a chance to take a look inside. You can see I've got it back together. The rubber grips just snap on, and everything else looks good. I've got it set up in an airplane mode. So we'll turn it on. We'll press the button and hold it down, and it will come on. Now we're going to go through the menus one at a time. So the first thing is it's telling me to put all the switches in the up positions and then go. Fail-safe is not set. Do you want to set it? You can select between yes or no. I'm not going to set it. On the radio comes. Okay, so let's take a look through the menus. Now the radio is actually very intuitive. I haven't actually really looked at the manual. I probably should, but I haven't. But anyway, menu button, exit button. Menu button brings up basic menu, model menu, receiver menu, system menu. So we'll go through these one at a time. Basic menu, okay. Channel monitor. Shows you what each channel does. And right now we don't have a lot of the switches set. So that's all 16. You can run it 1 through 8 and get additional information on each channel. Go back to all channels, press exit, model set. Okay, here we have our model select, model number 1, model name. We can set a name here with the scroll and the keyboard. Model type, and we're going to spend a minute on this. Okay, so we've got several model types. Fixed wing, glider, helicopter, multicopter, ship, car, and robot. And each model that you select then changes the menus in the radio. So, for example, if we select robot, we now have a selection here between wheeled vehicles and tracked vehicles. So if you wanted to run a tracked vehicle on one stick, it gives you that option already set up. We're going to go back and select airplane, since that's probably what most people will use this radio for. I'll use it for trucks, but and probably helicopters, and maybe even an airplane. We'll set up an airplane a little bit. So we've got an airplane. So now, because we have the airplane set, we have wing type, tail type. So if we go to wing type, we can then switch between one aileron, two ailerons and a flap, two ailerons and two flaps, and you can select the various wing types that you might want. We'll select one aileron. Tail layout, you can switch between normal and V tails. Alright, model copy, model reset. Exit. Reversing. This is simple. Servo reversing on every single channel. You can scroll through them. All 16 channels. You can reverse or normal direction. It's simply a select it and scroll it. Reverse, normal. Exit. Servo rotation. they call this servo rotation, I call it endpoints, but you can set how far each servo travels, anywhere from 150% down to 0%. Pretty straightforward. Delay set. Here you can set a channel to delay something. For example, flaps on an airplane. You might not want them to go snap, snap. You can slow them down. Function assign. Okay, here we can assign any function to any control. And when you push on the control, it brings up a little map here so you can see what the control does. Trim. This is basically sub-trim. So you can adjust a control here and it'll stay set that way. Timer. Pretty obvious. You can select various timers. You can have alarms. You can have the radio vibrate. Notice it keeps going to a second page. Trainer mode. I'm not going to discuss that. Stick mode. Now we're gonna actually discuss this because we have mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, and mode 4. So it actually, my radio came set to mode 3, but here in the United States we most fly everything on mode 2. So we're going to select mode 2. And now we're on mode 2. Okay. Switch set. Here you can select, for example, this is a 3-position switch. You could tell it to be a 2-position switch for that, but they came preset to whatever switch. I suppose if you wanted to replace this with a 3-position switch, you could. And quick set gives you access to the main functions quickly right away. Okay, we'll go back. Model menu. That's the next menu. Channel monitor is the first thing. Again, same as before. Condition. They call this condition. I call this flight modes. You can set a switch to switch every dual rate that you've set up in the airplane. I use this a lot on semi-trucks because I will make that switch do all the dual rates at once. And this is the menu used to do that. Function rate. Okay, here we've got basically exponential and travel. So here we can set exponential. Now that's the aileron channel. You can flip down here. You can do exponential. You can do the curve. You can see the curve change right on screen. And again, we'll take a look at that when we set up an airplane. We'll leave it to 0. Dual rate. Okay, here's where you assign what switch for what function. For example, if we want the aileron dual rate switch to be here, it's marked. You won't be able to see it, but that's SWA engraved in the screen. We could set that to switch SWA. Okay, channel offset. Again, you can set the center point of a servo. Mixing. This gives you all your mixes. I think there's a ton of mixes. 20 mixes. Okay. Throttle curve. Logic switch. Haven't figured this one out. I may have to look at the manual for that. Throttle hold. I typically will set one of these switches to be throttle hold so that my plane doesn't take off all by itself. Idle up. Self-explanatory. Throttle cut. Self-explanatory. Aileron to rudder. There's two here. Aileron and rudder. So aileron, you can set either aileron to elevator or aileron to rudder mixes. And here you can set rudder to aileron, rudder to elevator. So when you move your rudder, your ailerons will move, or vice versa. Okay, back to the main one. Receiver menu. Bind setup, fail safe, sensor set, and iBus set. Now, the only thing you probably have to know, typically iBus is the normal way these radios talk, but if you want to set it to S-Bus, which we use a lot with sophisticated electronics like Bayer Electronics, you go to the bind setup menu,
and then you go down here to output mode, and then you set it to S-bus. We're going to set it back to iBus right now, but there's a lot of settings in here, and you can obviously start a bind. Failsafe, here's where you set up the failsafe. We don't know it's set up. Sensors, this is for additional in-flight sensors that you can use. And iBus setup, that's for fail-safes. You can set up every channel, but we're not going to set that up right now. System menu, okay. This one is a pretty good menu. Setup. All right. Setup gives you all the normal things that we're talking about. Now, also, you can get into this menu by just pushing one of the function buttons here. Gets us to the setup menu. And I went through those function buttons, but that's another way to get here. So setup, we have the language, we have the battery type, brightness, delay time, idle alarms, all the setups you could possibly want, lights, sound, vibration, units. Stick calibration, this is so you can calibrate the sticks. We're not going to do that right now, but if you make a lot of changes, you're going to want to calibrate the main sticks and probably these two pots right here. All you do when you well, here, let's do it. You set it up and it says put the sticks and knobs in the middle. Calibration moves the sticks and the knobs to their positions. That's it. Post, control self-check and fail-safe prompt. That's so the prompt, notice when we turned on the radio, it prompted me for the fail-safe. You can actually turn that off. Update, you can plug it in, update it off the Flysky website. Now I've found that once you get this radio all programmed, I haven't done it with this radio, but there are other radios, it tends to erase any programming you have. So just be aware of that. Factory reset, help center, and then takes you to Facebook official website. Yeah, gives you a QR code so you can find things like the manuals. Okay, that's the menus, and pretty straightforward. Now, what I thought I would do is actually just set up a typical airplane model just to show you how each of those functions work. So let me grab an airplane and we'll set it up. So the first thing I'm going to set up on the basic menu, I'm going to go all the way to the let's see here. No, I'm going to go to this menu right here and do the setup. And I'm going to change the brightness. Yeah, leave the screen brightness at 50. But I'm going to set the main light to red. That's the light here. And the auxiliary light to red. And the vibration to system and alarm. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, now I can feel the vibration when I'm moving things. Okay, now I'm going to do the basic menu, model setup, model 1, model name. You can see is the backspace is highlighted, so we're going to backspace. We're going to go to capitals, and we're going to call the model R. We'll go back to small letters. E. red. Okay, call the model red. We're going to go down here to this check mark and save that. Model type is an airplane, and we're going to go with 2 ailerons and 1 flap. Okay, that's the basic setup of the model. Great, now what I've done is I have said, okay, I want to call my model red. I want to put the flaps on switch B, this one right here, on channel 6, and the gear on switch E, which is this back one here, on channel 5. I want to have the throttle cut on switch F, which is this one back here. And then I'm going to set up dual rate ailerons and elevators and mix the elevator and the flaps. And that would be kind of a typical setup. So we're going to go back to the menu. Basic menu is model set, we already did. Servo reversing, we don't have to worry about. Function assign, okay, we do need to do this. Now channels 1 through 4 are already set up. Those are our standard setups, but channel 5 we want to have the gear. So we're going to call that custom. And we could rename it, but I'm not going to bother right now. And then we're going to set that in this box to channel 5 to SWE. SWE. Okay, normal. Okay, exit. Exit. And flaps are going to be SWB. Exit. Okay, now we have to set those to a channel. So we're going to go to the model menu, and we're going to go to, well, let's do throttle cut since we're there. Throttle cut, I want to use SWF. So we're going to set that to SWF. Okay. Now, we can take a look at the throttle. Okay, it works fine. We flip our throttle cut switch, it's not working anymore. And that's what we want. We want to have throttle cut set so we don't, if we bump this, we don't accidentally activate the throttle. That's all there is to setting throttle cut. It's really pretty easy. Okay. Back to the main menu. Alright, so we set our flaps and gear. Let's just take a look at that. So we'll hit menu, basic menu, channel monitor, and now you can see the flaps are working just fine on channel 6 and the gear on channel 5. Again, we can expand those so you can see them better. There's the flaps and there's the gear. Okay, now the other thing that we might want to do is slow down our flaps. So we'll go to the basic menu, we'll go to delay set, we'll go to the flap channel, which is channel 6, and you can see that they activate instantaneously. But if we slow them down a little bit, let's slow them down to 2 seconds. That might be a little slow, but it's just to show you how this works. Okay, now you can see when I flip the switch, of course it's telling me I flipped the switch, but you can see how it delayed the servo response. Okay, and we can actually see that. I've got a receiver here. I'll plug a servo into channel 6. So we can see how that delay works. See how slow that servo moves? Moves in relation to your screen. Much nicer, more realistic flaps, landing gear, or whatever. In a truck, you might use it for a coupler. Just being able to slow them down is really neat. Okay, we'll continue on with the programming here. So the next thing we want to do is set up some dual rates. So let's go to the model menu and do function rate. Okay, so aileron, we'll push the button here, aileron. All right, and now we can set up the dual rate to switch. Said the ailerons I want an SWA. SWA. Okay. And then so what we have is we set up switch A now for our dual rates, and you can see when the switch is down and the switch is up. So the switch down, we're going to put the rate, we're going to put it to, let's just put it to 50%. So switch up, we have the full rate. Switch down, we have 50%. You can throw some exponential in here. Whoop. Throw 20% exponential in. Okay, so 50% rate, we'll throw 10% exponential in. Alright, so now we have our high rate and our low rate. And the way that works, let's see, what are ailerons? Maybe channel 1 or 2? Channel 1. So we have our ailerons on the low rate and on the high rate. So you can see the arm moves a lot further and it moves slower, and the exponential means that it moves less quickly in the center and more quickly in the outside. Okay, so exit. Now we can do the same thing with the elevator. We want to set the switch to, let's see here, elevator. The switch to, what did we say, SWF. Elevator. F. Okay, and then basically do the same thing here. We can go back to dual rate 2. And set the rate at 50%. Oh, didn't get that switch hooked up correctly. I had a little issue there because I actually set the dual rate to SWF, but it was actually SWD. So if we go back now, our dual rate is working. 100%, 50%. We want this one to be 100%. And this one to be 50%. Okay, so now we have our dual rates on our elevator, and we can set exponential on that. The last thing we want to set is a flap to elevator mix. Final thing I want to set up is a flap to elevator mix, which is pretty common. So we go here to flap, airfoil flap to elevator. Let's just set this at 15 and 5 just to play with it. Okay, we'll go back to our monitor, and now you can see the, let's expand this. Okay, so when I move the flaps, you can see the elevator change position slightly. And obviously that's going to be different for every plane, but you can, that's how you set it in the flap to elevator mix. So that basically would be the setups on a common airplane. You know, obviously when I do this in an airplane, I'll play around with it, get the mixes I like and everything, but and the exponential and the dual rates and all that, but it's pretty intuitive. I still haven't cracked the manual. I am going to come back and do more videos on this radio in the future. Obviously, as I mentioned, I'm going to install it in one of my helicopters with a sound system. So it'll be a helicopter with a Bayer sound system, and I'll program the radio using all 16 channels, using S-Bus, setting it up with helicopter mixes, and I'll do a video on that. And then I'll also do a truck video on setting it up for a common truck, either for an MFC, a Tamiya MFC, or a Bayer system. And those will be a couple separate videos that'll be coming. This is a really cool new radio. I am just think it's outstanding. The feel of it, you know, I know you guys can't feel it, but I can feel it. It's amazing. It feels great. It's really a radio that I want to use in some of my airplanes now, which I just haven't had that before with Flysky. I've loved them in the trucks, but now all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, airplanes and helicopters, here we come. So brand new product from Flysky. Well, it's not brand new, it's been out for a couple months. I'll put some links in the description where you can buy it. I'm assuming you can find it on Amazon, certainly AliExpress, and it's pretty cool, and I've just begun to delve into this thing. So there you go, 16 channel radio from Flysky at a very great price. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.